I'm Dr. Jones, the new honors director. I got to meet some of you at the picnic on Friday, if you were there. So if you were there, you got your second gold bag. Anybody at the picnic Friday? All right. So we wish you all would have been there as well, but now you're getting some of the swag we gave out on Friday, as well as a packet that should have a copy of this PowerPoint, so you can take notes if you like, right on the slides at the student, as well as a few other forms we'll talk about today. And the purpose of this workshop is to introduce you to our transfer procedures, both with the college and to help give you some resources for scholarships and a few other things. As we get started though, I just want to let you know who I am. I've been honors director now a month after Dr. Gallagher returned to faculty, so, but I was coordinator here in Central before that, so I've sat through this presentation many times and I'll give it before. And that's me. We're also joined by Shannara outside, who's welcome to, and our assistant Rob in the back. So we're all here to help you succeed, as you can see in our next slide. There's our information. Our campus coordinators are not here at the moment. Professor Heffron can't make it, but Professor King and Dr. Nightingale should be joining us soon. If you don't know our information, that's how to contact myself and Shannara. You can always email us at honorsinfo@broward.edu, but certainly note your coordinator's information if you don't already know it. This is our agenda. Whoops. Wait, I'll show you the agenda in a minute. This was on the slide that was scrolling the presentation before. As you were walking in, you might have seen a lot of facts about the Honors Institute. If you were noticing, and that was something Rob put together for us, just to give you a sense of the history of our Honors Institute. This is just a snapshot of some of the prestigious colleges and universities where students who were sitting in the chairs you're sitting in just a few years ago or last semester, last year, where they've all transferred. So we go national and international once you guys leave here. So lots of schools we could add to this list, but you are proud of, or part of a very proud and prestigious history here at the Robert Ball Elmore Honors Institute. So just wanted to give you some ideas if you don't yet know where you're transferring to. This is our agenda for today. So our workshop is designed to go for a little bit of time because this is the one time of the whole year that we do this for you. So if for some reason you have to leave, please do so quietly. And if you want to spread the word, Rob is videotaping this. So as soon as we get the footage and put it on our private YouTube channel, you'll receive an email from your campus coordinators if for some reason you have to leave or you have friends who are missing the workshop due to class or work or something like that. So we will make sure you all get the information. We'll talk about, very quickly in a minute, graduating with the honors certificate. We'll also give you some tips as far as the transfer application process in general. And then I'm sure you all are thinking, not so much maybe about where you want to transfer to, you might already know that, but is a big question in your mind how you're going to pay for it? Okay, so we'll be sure to get to the money soon and give you some resources. Near the end of our time, we'll be joined by transfer representatives from FIU, FAU, and NOVA, who will be our distinguished guests for the second part of our afternoon together to give you some information on how to apply specifically to their schools and to transfer scholarships that their three universities offer specifically to Broward students. Just to remind you, if at any time you have a question, please raise your hand and stop me. I tend to talk fast, so please, just ask me to repeat something if you need it, or if you have a question, by all means, feel free to interrupt, raise your hand, and we can answer, questions along the way. So, I assume if you're all here that you want to earn the honors certificate, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who can tell me the requirements for earning the honors certificate? Fernando.
Five honors courses and a 3.5 GPA.
5 honors courses and a 3.5 GPA. What honors course do you all have to take? IDH. Thank you for Excellent. If I had your prizes, you would have all gotten one, but I don't. So, stars, I don't even have stickers or anything. But, you're all stars, as our former director, Dr. McKinnon, used to say. So, don't forget to, be sure to complete your honors classes and take the IDH, of course. And your coordinators are working right now on the winter schedule, so they should have that ready soon. You also want to be sure to complete the college requirements. That will depend certainly on your degree audit. Is there anybody in the room who's never seen their degree audit? Awesome. So hopefully you're getting all of your, maybe, if you don't want to say. If you're not sure, it's in your MyBC account. You can follow your degree audit and it will tell you what gen ed requirements you still need to do. For instance, taking biological sciences or shout out to the social sciences or history. It will tell you those types of things. And so you'll want to be sure to look at that because that will vary with each student depending on what classes you still need to take. So be sure that you're looking at your degree audit in your MyBC account as well as meeting with an advisor, certainly, to be sure that you're meeting all the college requirements to graduate on time. The other thing that will be required of you when you are about to graduate, the college has its own system for you to graduate. So you will have to apply to graduate in the MyBC system. But you also, if you're getting the honors certificate, have to fill out forms on our side. Does that make sense, everyone? And you'll be getting a ton of emails about this. Do you already get a lot of honors emails? Yeah. Okay. Are you on South Campus?
Yes.
Dr. Nightingale's emailing you daily, right? Okay. For North Campus, you'll look at your D2L page, same with Central. So that's how you would learn everything. And of course, our honors website. So be sure to follow your college email for the college requirements to graduate. The honors requirements we're going to look at right now. And you have a copy of these two forms, the transfer questionnaire and the request for certificate. They should be in your folder in your little bag. We'll go right to the honors website, which we'll maintain. So we'll make sure that it has the most up-to-date form. So this is the home page. Where would I start to find a form on this site?
Go down. Scroll down.
Honors important form. It's right here. I don't even need to scroll down. And just so you know, always follow us on Facebook, like our page, and Twitter. It's another way to learn what the most up-to-date information. And our calendar of events is always updated. But yeah, you want to start with the honors important forms link. And the transfer questionnaire and request for certificate forms are found here. You want to note a couple things. Is there anybody graduating in December? I thought so, from your introductions. The forms you have in your packet are for students graduating in May. Since the majority are, we put those in the packet. On the table are forms for December graduates. So be sure at the end of the workshop to get the forms for you on the table over there. So I'll just mention that briefly. For December 2014 graduates, so students graduating this semester, you won't be doing the transfer questionnaire. So you don't have to do that part, which really is because there's very limited transfer scholarship funds if you're starting school in January. So let us know if you are looking into some schools and we'll do our best to help match you to them. But for the most part, the funding usually is on an August awarding basis, not January. So that's why you're only doing one piece. So December graduates, your request for certificate, if you look down here, is due October 1st. For May 2015 graduates, as it sounds like most of you are, you will need to do the transfer questionnaire and submit that by January 16th. And your request for certificate will be due February 6th. Questions so far? The transfer questionnaire will ask you a few things just as you're getting prepared to graduate and transfer to different universities. And I want to be clear, what the Honors Institute does for you is not to award you transfer scholarships. Do you all know that my office does not award you money for when you leave here? Okay, because I've been called about that. I had even a parent call one time when I was a coordinator and say, my student graduated with honors, where's their transfer scholarship? And I had to explain that we don't award money. That money is awarded from the institution where you're going. What we try to do is give you the resources so you can get that money. That makes sense? Okay. And this is what that form is designed to do. It will ask you a profile, of course, your pertinent information, address, email, what campus you attend, things like that. And if you attend more than one campus, you could always feel free to put the campus you applied to honors in. That will help match you up. As well as, you could even just go by which one you've attended more classes in. So that's not a huge deal. But if you've been involved in any of the honor societies like PTK or our English Honor Society, list that. But you want to also put here the universities you're applying to. And then it's going to ask you to turn in 2 letters of recommendation. Just note that these should be addressed to whom it may concern. These are generic letters in the sense that they don't need to be addressed to anybody specifically, but the professor or whoever's writing it can address it to whom it may concern and just generally recommend you for transfer. Then you'll also attach the copies of your applications to the universities you've listed. If you are applying to more than 3, and many students do, feel free to handwrite anything in extra or type up a sheet and just be sure that you match that and attach the copies to match the list. Everybody good there? The reason that we ask for this information is my office is going to send these letters and sort of a letter of introduction to those universities to try to boost more applications. So it's something that the service honors we've been doing for years, so we're going to try to just help do that. Sometimes that can make a difference as far as, you'll need to obviously follow all of their application procedures, but this is just something extra that we do. Questions on it? Yes.
You said the transfer questionnaire for those graduating in December is on the other table?
No, only the request for your certificate. You don't have to do this. Just if you would like us to, we can, but it's not a requirement for your program. Any other? The request for certificate form looks pretty similar. So in the sense that the top form is asking you again all of your same pertinent information. It is asking if you've completed the IDH course with a grade of A or B, as well as how many classes. If you've received any honors credit through honors by contract, you want to list that. And then if you think you're meeting the requirements for the honors certificate. And you'll probably be filling this form out for February while you're still taking your last honors classes, or maybe you might be taking your IDH in your last semester. List that. List the classes you're currently in or have already completed to make sure that you've got all 5 there, including the IDH. If you plan on taking any in the summer, let us know that as well. So that form's a little simpler. Questions? This is just notifying us that you think you're ready to graduate with honors, and we can make sure you get your certificate. We'll obviously verify that, and you have to, of course, as Fernando mentioned, have the 3.5 GPA. Questions on these forms?
I remember when I was applying that it said something about if you pass a class with an A, you get the credits, but if you pass with a B, there's a difference there as far as, I'm not sure.
Is it an honors class you're talking about?
Yeah, but on the application itself, it said.
It probably says the same thing that, and I can show you the current application, and I don't think it's different than what you filled out, but that might not be necessary. You get honors credit if you are taking an honors class. You get honors credit if your grade is an A or B. If it's honors by contract, the grade must be an A. Is that clear? Other questions? So there's our website again. Again, what we offer is helping to connect you to transfer scholarships and overall advice on that process, but we're not offering a scholarship. You're going to notice that I'm probably going to say the word deadline today 100 times. So be sure to follow all deadlines, not just with the Honors Institute deadlines for the forms we just looked at, but for every single thing we're going to talk about today. Transfer applications to your schools have to be received by whatever deadline the school has. Same with scholarship applications. So we want to be sure to meet these deadlines now. And even turn in things early. How about that? Right? So, do any of you know where you want to go? Graduating May, December. Who wants to tell me? Where are you transferring? Saw your hand.
Well, hopefully if I obtain enough scholarship money, I would be going to UF study medicine. If not, my fallback school is FIU.
FAU or Nova? FAU or Nova. Are you in the LINK program?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You might be, when are you graduating in June? You might have too many credits to get into it, but we'll talk about the LINK program later when our FAU rep is here.
We're putting Nova or FIU.
Nova or FIU? Excellent. Anybody else?
FIU or UCF?
FIU, UCF. Great. Anybody going out of state? Oh, where are you going?
Barry.
Barry.
Duke University.
Do you want to go to Duke? Okay.
FIU.
Yeah. Where you
FIU.
FIU? Why do you?
Not sorry.
Okay, that's okay. No, that's great. So, and I asked just because you said something. Yeah. Anybody want to go to Harvard? Okay, we always have one.
That's what I said.
Oh, you did? Sorry. There's always one student. Why do you want to go to Harvard?
Oh, why?
Yeah.
Just the quality of the education, and you leave Harvard and you know you're going to be hired by an excellent company. I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. So that's a good sense of some schools. I asked you just because all of you are saying the right things as far as selecting the schools. You know exactly what you want to do if you want to go to med school or where you want to travel, your major, your career path. You all seem to have that. So cost is certainly a factor, a school's reputation. That's why I always bring up Harvard because it's, as you said, it's Harvard. But have you ever spent a winter in Massachusetts? Okay, so you're
Up from Rhode Island.
Okay, you're good. Just checking, because you want to obviously pick schools. One advice, big piece of advice I had from my own advisor in my dissertation program in grad school is always to think about fit, what's right for you. It doesn't have to be the school where all of your friends are applying, where all of your family members went. You know, you have to, granted, do what your parents tell you if they're paying for it. So that's, don't tell them I said no. But you want to find the school that's the right fit for you. And, admissions requirements. Many of you are in PTK, correct? Is it still the case with PTK you can get the admissions application fee waived? I think so. Right. It's one of the benefits. It used to be that some schools would waive the application fee if you were a PTK member. So talk to your PTK advisors about that. I'll check that one out with Professor Parker and the other folks. But so you want to think about that as far as another thing. You're going to be applying to any number of schools, and I've also had students who maybe if the school didn't have the waiver for PTK to waive the application, they would just call and see if they would waive it. So always talk to the admissions offices and see what can happen. In this case, it worked for the student. You want to think about your educational goals and your majors. Is there anybody who isn't sure what they want to major in when they come? You don't want to admit it. Nobody's on the side. Okay. No, you really, I'm just giving you some advice here because if you are maybe between one or two majors or you're not exactly sure, you want to write down something pretty strong though on your application because if you look like you're undecided, that gives the school a reason not to pick you because it looks like you're not exactly sure what you would do with their resources and their programs. So like your example of knowing exactly what your career would be with broadcast. That's what our the transfer institutions want to see, that you know exactly what you would do with their major. That's also what would make you very competitive for transfer scholarships, is this idea that you have a pretty clear-cut path. Now, life happens, things might change, but going in, if you know exactly what you would do at that university, that makes your application stronger. So obviously those are the things you would be thinking about, educational goals, majors. When you're making your list of schools you want to apply to, also think in terms of fit again as to where these schools are. I had a student once who was applying, she was a history major, was applying to literally every school under the sun, it seemed like it. And I was writing her letters constantly, which I didn't mind doing, but I finally said, because when she came to me and said that she was going to apply to the University of Minnesota, and this was a student who had never lived in any type of climate like Minnesota. She was from the Caribbean. So I asked her, are you going to be happy in a place where the sun doesn't shine for half the year? Anybody been in the Midwest? Like, I used to live there. I can say that. So literally, like, I would fly down here to Florida to visit my in-laws, and that was when I would see the sun. Like, the clouds never moved over Ohio. And so the University of Minnesota is one of the top history, major schools in the country. But I was making her think of those practical concerns. Would she really want to live there? That kind of made her think of it. She's still applying, but think about those types of things. Is it a school that's a good fit for you? And all students kind of rank their schools, what they think is the long shot, your dream school, your maybe list, and the probably kind of sure things. So you want to think about that. There's no guarantees, so always try to vary up your list so that you have your dream school, the maybe school, and the probably school. If you're not sure, for anybody who didn't answer that they weren't sure where they want to transfer, this is a website I just wanted to show you. A lot of you mentioned large universities as where you want to transfer to. This website, bless you, is called Colleges That Change Lives. And it's a consortium. From what I gather here, this is something I've heard other transfer workshop folks mention. I think the schools are kind of being organized into this consortium. So the schools have chosen to be involved in this, and they've published a book to kind of advertise the schools. But this is kind of giving you a sense, the member colleges or schools you might have not heard of. They're smaller schools, but schools that are usually very open to transfer students. One school I know on here, I grew up in Pennsylvania, is Allegheny College. It's a small liberal arts school near rural Pennsylvania. It's been there 200 years. So this is a smaller environment. Just to give you an idea, if you're maybe looking for someplace a bit smaller rather than a university with thousands of people, these are some good ideas. The kind of education that you're looking for in the majors will depend on the school. Most of them are liberal arts focused in that sense. But you can see recent graduates have gone on to do internships at a variety of places, including the FBI and NASA. And their graduates have also gone on to some of these professional schools for graduate programs. So that's another idea, just to give you a sense of some schools that you might not think of, but and if you look, each school is different on this list as far as their transfer application requirements and if they offer funding and so forth. So it's just something to think about. And I went to a small school like this, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So, and so did my sister actually. Although ours aren't on that list, and we didn't go to the same place. But definitely don't, if you look at private institutions and see the price tag, always ask about funding. My sister and I both went to private institutions, but we're twins, so that kind of helped our grant package. Our parents had 2 students going to school at the same time, so at the time that option was cheaper for us than if I would have gone to a state school because of the funding available at a private school. So give yourself some ideas and think outside the box if you like. Questions on anything? Have any of you started to research your school staff? Are any of you feeling overwhelmed? Okay, right? I've been there, and I've watched several students do this. I can't help you with that feeling of overwhelming or making it easier. But what I can tell you is the best thing to do is to stay organized with it and stay on top of your deadlines and due dates. And obviously this is tough given that many of you are probably taking at least 4 or 5 classes at the moment, right? And working on top, at least, right? 6, 7, okay. So we know that you have obviously a lot of responsibilities. A few students, including one of our Jack Kent Cook winners, Whitney Johnston, who I advised a few years ago and wrote letters for, kind of created her own folder system. She had everything color-coded for the schools she was applying to, the scholarships, and had a pretty good system organized. She had a folder every time she gave a professor a request to write a letter for her. So her system obviously helped her win a pretty prestigious award and go to NYU with it. But it's a good system in the sense of you want to organize whatever way you do it. I used to keep a clipboard with due dates for applications right next to my computer, and I would put, I think logically, the due date that was most immediate in the future at the top. Okay? Organizing it by alphabetical school list wouldn't work because that wouldn't get me the due date right away. So that's how I did it. I didn't quite do the folders that Whitney did, but I would just keep that clipboard with the list of due dates at the top sheet and all my application materials underneath it. And just check off as you go. And my best advice to you is a lot of the schools are going to look at, a lot of transfer scholarship deadlines are going to be pretty random dates, starting pretty quickly in December for some of the scholarships. So you want to be sure that you're on top of this, as well as your courses. So I can't do anything to take any of all this, what sounds like a lot of work away, right? But I can give you advice as far as helping to just offer you tips to make it go a little easier, however you organize it, whether it's by handed notes or on your computer, on your phone, whatever you do. The other thing I always tell students is, how many of you are thinking already about grad school after you finish your bachelor's degree? The good news is the process to apply to grad school is very similar to this. and to apply for funding. So you'll already know how to do this and have a system in place. So you'll have a jump on all the students who haven't transferred. Does that sound good? So I can help a little bit with that overwhelming feeling. But again, follow directions. Is anybody keeping track of how many times I've said deadlines to this point? Okay. So that's always key, because really there's not a lot we can do. If you miss a scholarship deadline, we can't call on your behalf and say, we've got this great student, they just missed the deadline. The big national applications that we help connect you to, especially for scholarships, have solid deadlines. It's rare that they would ever, I've never heard of them taking a late application. So these are solid deadlines. Any questions yet? The next ingredient of this, and it's a very important one, both your honors certificate request form as well as any application you're going to probably fill out for a school and for a scholarship are going to ask you for a letter of recommendation. Who should you ask for a letter of recommendation? Professors, advisors. Should it be any professor? One that knows you? Yep. I was a history major and I really liked my marketing class. Should I have asked my marketing professor for a letter? Maybe, but why did some of you say why not?
That wasn't your major.
Wasn't my major. Yep. The strongest letters, your primary letter writer, for like the first one they should receive, should be from your major. Because it again makes your application stronger. If you're saying you're majoring in business, they're going to expect to see at least one letter from a business professor. Now, I did really well in that marketing class. I would probably add that letter too, just to show, that part of my application, well-rounded part. But they're going to look for one from your major. So, that sounds good. Okay. So, your major professor, your advisor, somebody who knows your work well. You also want to ask somebody that you did really well in their course. So, getting an A in the class should be a given. Even if you didn't, if it's your major, and maybe it was a really tough course, and getting a B was, have you had that course yet where the highest class grade is a B? So the professor could still say, you worked hard, or, really came a long way in the class, things like that. You want to be very specific when you ask for your letter of recommendation. In your packet, we also included a form that will help you with this. It's the letter of recommendation request. So it's this one with the blue, or maybe it's a black bar at the top. This form we kind of put together for you, and feel free to make copies. We'll make sure that your coordinators have access to this form. But it gives you some guidance on how to request a letter of recommendation. Is there anybody in here who hasn't done that? Okay. So, is it scary to go knock on your professor's door and ask for it? Okay. Don't be intimidated. And as a recent history faculty member, I can tell you, we expect to do this for you. We want to do this for you and help you. So don't be intimidated. Just knock on the door, say, Professor, if you remember me, I had your U.S. history class 2 semesters ago. I'm applying for transfer schools. Could you please write me a letter? Especially if you go in person, they're probably not going to tell you.
Is there a recommended time frame to request a letter of recommendation? Like, if you have one that's a year prior to your graduation of government in the ministry, or you could just file them and hold on to this?
Is your question, if you have a letter from a year ago, is it still valid now?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a really good letter and really specific, really wowing you in the letter, I would say it's okay, but your application will be stronger if you get a more recent one.
Like 3 months?
3 months. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not all applications require a letter, so be sure you check to see if they do require a letter. Some of them actually don't want you to send letters. And also you have to remember, we're not the ones sending the letter for you. You have to send the letter with your application if it's required. So I know that many students often think that they're giving us a copy of the letter and we're going to mail it. We are not going to mail it. So make sure that you find out which applications do require letters and have that letter written for that institution. It makes a better letter. The instructor could give you multiple copies of letters for different institutions. It's the same letter. They don't get together and compare notes. So it can be the same letter with just a different institution name, but you should have it mention the institution you're going to. If you don't know yet, it can be a generic one, but do check your applications. Don't assume you don't need one, don't assume you do need one.
And Dr. Nightingale's point brings up the other issue I was going to mention. If you want the professors to write you a letter tailored to each specific institution you're applying, you have to give them time and very specific instructions. The time frame we suggest is 2 weeks at a minimum, and that is at a minimum. Look how many of you are in this room. It's fair to say that a lot of you took honors classes together, right? So those same professors are probably going to be hearing from at least 5 or 6 of you soon about writing letters. So 2 weeks at a minimum, a month is ideal. And you want to give them as much information when you ask for the letter as possible. That's what this form helps you do. You want to always get in the habit of typing up your own resume or brag sheet. In your folder is also a sample student resume. And I put a note at the bottom that obviously the categories are suggestions. It mentions education, extracurricular activities, awards, and so on. If you didn't win awards or you didn't volunteer or anything, take those categories out and put in what's for you. So obviously you want to take this and tailor it to your own experience. But this is the simplest thing you can do to make it even easier for your letter writer to write that letter, because this is what they can look at when they're writing it. You also can attach, if you have a copy of a paper they graded,